June 9th, 2016. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 101 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
So the artwork for our show, basically the artwork that comes up when you play our show, like on iTunes or any other players,
Right.
You look it up. It's a piece of crap.
Right.
All
Well,
right?
you rushed. I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, I can say that because I'm the one who did it.
Yeah, and you rushed it.
I was rushing. It was something, that I put together before we ever recorded our first show. I thought,
Right.
well, we need artwork. And I thought, okay, I don't have a lot of talent when it comes to art, but I thought, okay, I like the idea of having like a backdrop of poker chips.
Right, and we play poker a lot.
Right. So I actually used the poker chips from our home game.
Right.
So if you look closely, you can see, well, I don't know if you can see a picture of you anywhere there, or even a picture of me. I think Paul, our friend Paul, is kind of prominently
right.
in the artwork.
Well, there's a lot of chips there. I'm sure we're in there somewhere.
Yeah, we're there somewhere. So the chip background, which turned out to be kind of a little too busy, really, for artwork, because it makes it hard to see. Because then the letters that I put in front of it, I colored them with just like the basic colors that you would get if you were using like Windows Paint or something like that, right?
Right.
Just, yellow and green and cyan and magenta and all those.
Right.
And then all I did was I tilted the word you, 90 degrees to give it that artistic feel.
In your mind.
But it was a piece of crap. Right?
Yeah,
So I actually did put together some artwork that's a little better. You and I were talking about it beforehand. It's got
Right.
kind of some like 60s looking font,
Right.
and a few icons of like a slot machine and
Right. But they were
roulette
pretty
wheel.
generic, too. They were
Yes.
just, a generic slot machine that you'd get off something.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's nothing special.
Right.
Well, finally, we actually got a real graphic designer to make new artwork for us. So Angel Rodriguez, over at a company called The Factory, located in Reno, Nevada, has designed a great new logo for us, the artwork for our show, that listeners should be able to see when we release this episode. It's a rich, I showed it to you last night for the first time, right? It's
It was great.
It's rich red logo with playing cards and dice, and I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks professional.
Yeah, it looks
professional.
There's no question about
Yeah.
it. It shows you, when you've got no talent like us,
Right.
when you see somebody who can really do something, that as a job, how poor you are at doing
Right,
it. But
right.
yeah, it looks great. And one thing I love about the logo too is the dice on it are real craps dice, like you'd find at a craps table.
Right.
A lot of times when you see some kind of logo, or even on TV when they're playing craps,
Right.
you look and they're not craps dice. They're like
No.
rounded Monopoly dice, or
Right. Because craps dice, you can see through them. They're clear.
right. They're sharp edged, and you can
very
see
sharp
through them. And
edged.
even in this artwork that Angel did, they're transparent. You can see the dots on the other side.
Right.
As you look through them. So
That's great. Two things I got to say about all this. Number
Okay.
one is we should have elaborated more. We play poker with chips that have all of our faces on it.
Oh, when we were saying before, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah. Doesn't every home game have that?
Yeah, doesn't every
Yeah, the
And
poker
it's
chips that
funny.
we use.
It's like not like I'm on all the 25-cent chips or something.
No.
It's just everybody's on every chip.
Yeah, so if you get a 25-cent chip or a $1 chip or a $5 chip, you don't know whose face is going to be on it.
Right.
That's right.
And then some of the faces are people who played with us years ago who we may not like anymore.
or we may not see anymore, or have passed away even,
yeah,
right?
or there are some that have passed away.
Yeah,
and so
right.
you get these chips. They're almost souvenirs. I should start collecting them.
Shit, every week. How come we're short? I'm short like 5 chips this week.
And the second thing I want to point out is we get a new logo for episode 101, not our 100th.
Well, yeah, I think that makes sense, right? Because now the first 100 will have that old crappy logo.
Oh, okay.
And then the next 100 will
have
have this
this
good logo. And will we get a new one for episode 201? I doubt we're going to get that far, but we'll see.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So let's refer from now on the first 100 episodes as the crappy logo episodes.
Okay.
So when people say, "Oh, just go back to one of the crappy episodes," crappy logo episodes.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
It is. That's right. Anyway, thanks again to Angel. His company, again, is The Factory up in Reno, Nevada. The company's website is thefactoryreno.com, and they do all sort of design work, logos and web design and all that kind of thing. So thanks again.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I thought this was interesting. So back in Game 6 of the NBA Western Conference Finals, which was a great series, by the way, right? Very exciting. Golden State was down 3-1.
Way more exciting than the finals have been so far.
Oh, I know. Although, we're recording this as Game 3 is going on, and so I took a look before we started recording, but we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay,
so far the finals have been just a disaster. But anyway, that was a good series, and Golden State was down 3-1, and they actually came back and beat Oklahoma City. Anyway, in Game 6 of the series, the sports books had the over-under for Stephen Curry's point total at 30.5. Okay? So when the game was over, Curry had scored 29 points. So anyone who had bet the under won the bet.
Right.
Okay? Well, the next day, the NBA announced that one of Curry's baskets had been incorrectly credited to Draymond Green. Did you see this actual play?
No, I did not
Mike,
see it. Was it a tip-in thing?
No. It was Curry just made the shot. Nobody else was around. Just whoever was keeping track messed up.
Oh, just
put the tally in the wrong column. Yeah, that's all it was, because there was no doubt. It was nobody else was around.
Oh my God.
So the next day they said, well, no, we're changing his. He actually scored 31 points. So people who had bet the over should have won.
Right.
Now, once a game is over, if you're betting on sports, once a game is over and the stats have been recorded, the sports books pay off the winners. I mean, you can go to the window and say, oh, I'm here, Chargers won.
Yeah,
nice
right.
one. Here you go. And they pay you right away. It's not like you have to wait the next day for some official stamp on it.
Right.
So I'm assuming this is what happened in this case too, is that people who had the under just went and cashed it in.
Got paid.
Or potentially could.
Yeah, now what if you didn't? What if you were like, you're at a casino and you're like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'll go cash that ticket. Yeah. That we do that all the time, right? We don't cash our ticket right away because we'll do it later.
Yes.
We're going to go make some more bets later. So what happened to the guy who actually bet the under and then went back the next day in the afternoon and you lost?
Well, see, I couldn't find any information on what any of the sports books actually did in this case. So I don't know if it was a case where, if you hadn't already cashed it in on an under, you couldn't the next day and only the overs could cash it. Right. I don't know what they did. If you ask me what the sports book should have done at the end of it all was just pay both sides.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine it would have been a super popular bet. So we're probably not talking about a lot of money. And so just to keep customers happy, just pay everybody and move on.
Somebody who waited and then should have really lost, but they thought they won. Maybe they just gave them their money back.
That could be. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's right. Sure.
You'd be happy with that.
Sure, you'd be happy with that. Yeah. I assume you'd be happy with that. I don't know. Although,
depending on how much
just because I am late to cash in, how come I don't have the benefit of, getting what everybody else got paid? I don't know what they do. If anybody knows what any of the sports books did in this situation, let us know, because I couldn't find any.
That happens.
I can't imagine it would be that often, because this actually made the news. I mean, it caught my attention. So, I don't know.
And two things. My one question is, how often does that happen? But number two, who sets a line for how many points a player will score?
Well, I think one of the reasons is because it's playoffs.
Right.
I don't know that you could bet on that in a regular game.
No, I understand.
Well, and plus it's Stephen Curry. It's not like just some schmo, right? So.
But I mean, how do they come up with the number?
Oh, I see.
That's what puzzles me, because in a baseball game, and you want to say, oh, the over-under is 5. Well, you're thinking 3-2. You're basing that on pitchers and hitting and past history between the teams and stuff. But an NBA playoff game...
Well, you're basing it on past performance.
Yeah,
I mean, and the idea is to get as many people to bet the over as the under.
Right.
And so, if it's around his average...
I guess maybe they just take his average and say, oh, tonight... Maybe.
Well, I'm sure it's not that simple. They know a lot more about the NBA than we do. It's like, what defense is on the other side. Yeah,
right.
Well, sure. That's because we don't do it.
Right, exactly, I guess. It's like designing a logo or something. We don't do it,
we don't do it.
have no clue what we're doing.
That's right. We get a lot of questions from listeners along the lines of, how much money do I need if I'm going to be playing this game at these limits for this amount of time?
Which is a very hard question to answer.
It's a very hard question to answer because there's so many other factors. What are you comfortable with? And it is hard to answer. Yeah. It's very hard to answer.
Comfort level is a huge part of that, right?
Well, for example, we got an email from listener Jordan who wanted to know if $400 was enough to play at a $10 craps table for 3 to 4 hours. And I wrote him back and said no, because a $10 table craps, you could go through quite a lot.
Right.
And he was thinking of different scenarios like, I'll do a pass line bet with like single odds, and then I'll place the 6 and 8 for $12 each. It's not enough money. You'd be surprised how quickly you could go through that.
Well, the thing about that is, too, you might be able to do $400 at a $5 table.
Maybe.
It's the $10 that gets you.
Yeah, and so I responded to him and I said, yeah, it needs to be maybe twice that, or like $800 or maybe even $1,000 if you're talking 3 to 4 hours.
Right, and you're going to be consistently at that table for 4 hours.
Yeah, we got along the same lines. We got a tweet from listener Brooke asking, what would you suggest as a minimum buy-in at a $10 table, assuming conservative play? Now, the question's a little bit different because she didn't say, okay, I'm going to be there 3 to 4 hours.
Right.
It was just she's going up to a table. She's going to cash in. What should she cash in for? And so I told her $300.
Well, in conservative play, what does that mean to you?
I think conservative play is, just stick with the pass line come bets. If you're going to place numbers, only the 6 and 8. That to me is conservative play. Any other bet you make at the table is not conservative play. Or don't pass, of course.
Yeah. What about pass line and 2 come bets?
Yeah, that's what I said. Pass line, come bets,
okay.
pass. Or if I didn't,
okay. Well,
pass
what about
line, come bets.
The other situation, pass line and going inside or taking 2 more numbers. Do you consider that aggressive?
I consider anytime you get away from the 6 and 8 on a place, I consider it aggressive because when you jump to the 5 and 9, then suddenly the house edge goes up to 4%. It's quite a bit different, right? So, but anyway, I said $300, figuring okay. You can cash in. Well, 20 minutes could go by and you may be out of your 300, but at least that's kind of a good, you may last for a little while. Maybe you get on a good run, you're fine.
Right.
If you plan on staying around for any more time, though, I don't think 300 is enough. You're probably going to have to go back into your wallet. And
I think you're looking at 1,000.
I was originally going to say 500. And then I thought, well, but if you just want to try it.
Yeah. What kind of person would go through $500 in 20 minutes, though? That's on a conservative table.
Very,
like that.
very hard to say. Now, Mike is prompting me for a real world story that happened a couple weeks ago up at Harrah's, Southern California. So I got up there early. It was a night where I had to leave early, so I got up there before you.
Right. You left after work, and I left after my work, which are different ending times.
Yeah. So I was there about 2 hours before Mike showed up. So I went up to a $5 craps table. And talk about conservative, all I did was a pass line and 2 come bets.
Right.
Now, I did take full odds. They have 3, 4, 5 times odds.
Right.
But that's all I did.
But on a $5 table, you're only looking at 15 on the 4 and 10, and you're looking at $25 on 6 and 8
for the odds. Yes.
So it's not crazy amount of money.
No. $5 and you know me, I did not deviate.
No,
I never pressed any bets.
Deviate.
I never bet anything else. It was just pass line and 2 come bets. In the 2 hours before you got there, I lost $600.
Yes.
$5 table playing the minimum pass line, 2 come bets.
And as I remember, the table was fairly full when I got there.
Yes,
it wasn't like crazy full, but it was full enough that the dice weren't moving that fast.
No, not that fast. And there's no question I had bad luck. Right. That's not always going to happen. But the reason I wanted to tell the story was just to emphasize that it can happen.
Right.
And the bottom line, and we've said this before on the show, people tend to underestimate how big a bankroll they'll need for any given gambling session.
Right. Well, the thing with gambling, I guess, in general, not just craps, but gambling in general, there are streaks, and you could sit down and you could get on a hot streak on that table, and you could have won $600 by the time I got there.
Yes,
but you could very easily have lost it all too.
Yes.
Now, hopefully, it's going to be somewhere in between.
Right. That's usually it's going to be somewhere.
I expected to come and you'd be down $100 or up $100, right?
Yes,
I didn't. But it can happen like that. It's just timing.
Yep.
Right.
If you play enough, those cold streaks will come, and they can be devastating.
Right. So if you're going to be at a casino or on a trip for any given amount of time, you need to think about, what am I going to do with those cold streaks?
Yes. And I would say, if you've got a certain bankroll in mind, maybe double it. because you're probably underestimating it. And you may not need that much,
Right.
but it could go bad.
But if you want to play the whole time you're there, you need to take enough that if it goes bad, you still have
that's
some to
the
play
thing.
with.
If you want to play the whole time you're there. Now, you could just have a limit where it's like, well, okay, I'm going to play the way I want. And then if I lose X number of dollars, then I'm done for the rest of the week. If you're happy with that and you're going to go see shows and eat restaurants, that's fine. Yeah.
Right. They have a gambling budget. They go on a trip. They say, I've got $500 to gamble with. Now, if I lose it the first night, then I just, hang out the rest of the time. They're not us.
That's right. That's right.
We're thinking
we have
about
to gamble.
and we're thinking about we need it to last till Sunday evening when we leave, right? And so we're trying to make it get to that point.
Yes.
So we're bringing enough that we can withstand some of the cold streaks.
That's right.
And still have money on Sunday afternoon to play.
And you've seen me do this too. If I've lost a certain amount at a certain time, I really cut back on my play.
Right.
I really reduce what I'm betting on the table.
You significantly reduce it. We have two different philosophies on that.
Yes, we do.
Mark brings a backup amount of money that he'll only go into under dire circumstances.
That's
right?
Uh-huh.
So, but when he's getting his initial, what he wants to gamble with low, he changes how he plays.
Yes.
And I do the exact opposite. I visit the ATM and get more. My all of a sudden, my bankroll has gone up.
Yeah, we don't recommend that.
No,
okay?
that's not the good thing to do.
Do as we say, not as Mike does.
Right, yeah. It's not a good thing to do, but it does work in my favor.
Sometimes it has. Sometimes it has. Well, $600 in 2 hours, that's my bad beat story. Now, you've got a bad beat story that's kind of silly also from the casino. So each week, we get food credit from Harrah's Southern California.
Yep.
I get $15 and Mike gets $100. Not a small amount. $100 a week in food credit.
Food credit.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, we don't typically sit down in one of the restaurants and eat. We usually use the food credit to buy things that we can take home.
Yeah, because we're there for 4 or 5 hours on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And we want to gamble the whole time.
Yeah, we don't want to eat.
Very seldom. I mean, sometimes when we're actually losing quite a bit, we do stop and eat.
Yes.
But most of the time, we get stuff and take it home.
And what we'll do, we'll go to, they have a couple of fast food places. They've got an Earl of Sandwich and a Pink's Hot Dogs place. So what I'll do, I'll just use my $15 to get Gatorade and milk, basically for the kids' lunches.
Right.
It's a ripoff, but I mean, it's free. Right. So I'm paying like $3 a bottle, but it's free. So that's better than getting an Earl of Sandwich, which you really have to eat right away.
Yeah, we've done the food thing where we get food, even hot dogs, and we take them home. But the next day, heating them up, they're not really as good. And a lot of times we would end up throwing stuff away.
So Mike gets $100 a week. So you really clean up. You're able to get candy and soda and chips, all this junk food.
$50 coupons, and I usually take one of the $50 coupons and buy a case of Hershey bars.
That's right. Yeah. Again, way overpriced, but it's free.
But it's free, so and all my kids and their friends enjoy eating Hershey bars. So
this last week, I had stopped playing before Mike did. I was up just a little bit and said, I want to go home a winner, Mike. I'm going to stop. I'm going to go get my food. So I went over, got my $15 worth of food. Now, the only day of the week that you cannot use the food credit is Saturday.
It's not every Saturday. It's just selected
certain Saturdays, like when they have giveaways.
When they have a giveaway, and it is so busy in the casino, and there's so many people there who all get food credits.
Yes.
That, I mean, even if they're just buying a sandwich, the lines would be atrocious.
Right. So just to keep customer service high,
right,
you cannot use the food credit on certain Saturdays.
Yeah, and they do have a lot. Most of their giveaways are on Saturdays, so it turns out it's more Saturdays than not.
So it's Friday night. I got my food, and then finally you said, "Okay, I'm done. I'm done playing. I'll go get my food." So we headed over to Earl of Sandwich, Pink's Hot Dogs. And there were signs up saying, you cannot use your food credit today. You'll be able to use it
today.
Yeah, right. You'll be able to use it at 12:01 a.m. I think they said Saturday night, which is technically Sunday morning.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they got the first half right. They said today because it technically was after midnight.
Yes.
So it was Saturday.
Yes.
But then the second part of it said you can use it at 12:01 Saturday, which is not right. It was 12:01 Sunday.
So what we're saying is, Mike, you got there too late.
Yeah,
it was after midnight.
But it was barely
so
after
that it's
midnight.
Technically Saturday,
right.
So you can't use the food coupon.
And the funny thing is, it was like a minute or two after.
It was not long after. It's true. They had gotten the sign.
Some guy must have been standing there right at midnight and slammed down the sign. Now, it always hasn't been that way.
No,
It
it's
used
the first
to be
time I've seen
6
it.
a.m. in the morning on
Which
Saturday.
makes so much more sense because if the point is they're trying to avoid these big crowds, well, there's no difference between 11:59 Friday night and 12:01 a.m. Saturday morning. It's not like there's a big
And
rush to the casino.
The giveaway stuff doesn't actually start till Saturday at the earliest 7 stars 8 a.m. Most people 10 a.m.
Yes.
So most people aren't even there till 9 or 10 a.m. That's when you need to stop the food thing.
And honestly, 12:01 a.m. Sunday morning, Saturday night,
It's still busy.
It's still busy.
Right.
It
There's
should
still a
really
lot
go from 6 a.m. Saturday morning to 6 a.m. Sunday. Anyway, the point is that was your bad beat. You had $100 in food credit. You weren't able to use
I
it.
wasn't able to use it, and I'm just sitting there and we actually lost that.
Yeah, it was
it wasn't terrible, but it was.
But it was a loss, yeah.
And I was like, oh great, I lose, and now I can't even get my food to take home. So what could I do? I came back Sunday morning and got my food.
Yeah, so a good end to the story.
It's a good for a week.
Oh, yes, right. So you'd already printed out your coupon. It's good for a week. You don't have to use it the same day you print
right.
it.
Yeah. So I was able to come back Sunday morning and, get my food.
Good.
So I made a trip up there to get candy.
That's smart advantage play. Good for you.
Advantage play. Right?
Yeah. Okay, Belmont Stakes coming up. On the last episode, we were talking about how poorly your system for betting on the horse with the most yellow
Yeah, I
has
don't
been
understand
going.
why that's not.
I'm not sure either.
winning.
That seemed foolproof to me, and I
Yeah.
can't understand why it didn't work.
Yeah, well, I worked the math out. It works out.
Well, the last episode you said for the Belmont, you're going to be betting on the horse that has the most unique letters in the alphabet.
Right.
Okay, so I
think I'll stick to that.
I printed out a list of all the contenders for the Belmont Stakes. There are 2 horses that each have 12 unique letters.
Wow.
Governor Malibu at 12-1 and Sudden Breaking News at 10-1. They both have 12 unique characters. Now, if you were to consider in Sudden Breaking News the capital S at the beginning and the lowercase s at the end, if you were to consider those 2 different letters,
Okay.
then Sudden Breaking News has 13 unique letters.
I like that.
So what's your thought?
Well, I've already, when I saw the 2 names, Sudden Breaking News just clicked.
Yeah, and there are no spaces. There is a limit to the number of total letters that a horse can have,
right.
a racehorse can have. And so if they go beyond that, what they do is they just take out the spaces.
Right. Yeah, I like Sudden Breaking News. I like the name. It's kind of rhythmic. It looks long. And yeah, if I count those S's, 13. My last name has 13.
Okay, so that's what you're going to do. So Kentucky Derby winner Nyquist won't be running, right, because he's got a cold. But Preakness winner Exaggerator will. Preakness is the favorite right now at 9-5.
How long do these colds last for horses?
I think indefinitely.
Indefinitely until the trainer wants them to run again.
That could be. That could be. Okay, so you're thinking Sudden Breaking News.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sudden Breaking News. I'm going to bet across the board on Sudden Breaking News and pray that it somehow gets second or third.
Okay, very good. Well, this will be definitive proof that system works better than the yellow system if he indeed comes in.
Now, people who know horses are probably
money.
going to bet on the horse who's better at this longer race.
Uh-huh.
I don't put much stock in that.
That's crazy talk. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. That way, when you make a purchase, we get a little kickback that helps cover the costs of hosting the show, and it doesn't cost you a thing. You'll pay the same price just like normal. We got an email from listener Jeff who wanted us to talk a bit about laying odds when you make a don't pass bet. And
I think he said he had read about it, but was still a little confused on it.
some of his questions specifically dealt with these concepts of healing and bridging. Okay. And we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, well, it is a confusing. Laying odds is kind of confusing.
It is. It's counterintuitive, and
Right.
But here's how it works: you can lay odds on a don't pass bet, just like you can take odds on a pass line bet. So, for example, if your point is 4, you're on the don't pass, so you'll lose if 4 comes up and win if 7 comes up. Now, what you can do is you can lay odds at 1-2. So you're putting odds out there to go along with your don't pass bet in the case of a 4 that will pay 1-2.
Versus when you take odds on a pass line bet, it pays 2-1.
Right, just the opposite.
It's exactly
No house edge on these lay odds, same as the pass line odds. So those odds will pay 1 to 2 if a 7 comes up. So if you lay $10, you'll win 5.
Correct.
One thing that you hear a lot from people is, well, why should I do that? My flat bet, my don't pass bet will pay even money. Why should I put out additional money that'll pay less than even money?
Right.
And the answer is because there's no house edge. There's no house edge on that bet.
Right. And there is a slight edge on just the flat bet.
Right.
Like there is.
But once you get past the come out roll,
right,
you actually have an edge
on the house.
Because you're going to get even money, but the chances are you're going to win that bet. Because it's always easier to roll a 7 than whatever the point is.
Right. So just as an aside to this, that's why when you make a don't pass line bet, you should take whatever number comes up.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing, too. We will often see don't pass players when the point is 6 or 8, just say, oh, no action.
Yeah.
But you can say, I don't want action in that. It's one of the most foolish things you'll see at a craps table because they'll get paid even money. Even if the point's 6, it's still easier to roll a 7 than a 6.
Right.
So you've got an edge on the casino, and yet they'll pay you even money. So it's terrible. It's a terrible move when don't players do that.
It happens all the time. It's probably the most common bad move on a craps table.
I think so. So anyway, whether you like laying odds or not, here's the math. You're better off betting a little on the don't pass and a lot on your odds than betting a lot on the don't pass with no odds. Same as on the pass line.
Right. Exactly.
If you're on
it's getting by that first roll is the problem.
Right. Yes. Okay. If you want to lay odds on a don't pass bet. So there are these concepts of healing and bridging, and all these are terms that describe how your odds, the actual chips, are placed relative to your don't pass bet. It's a little hard to describe on the podcast, but we're going to try. Healing is the most common way. Your don't pass bet stays in its original position, and the odds go next to your don't pass bet, maybe an inch away, kind of tilted. So in other words, let's say you've got Offset, that's a better way to put it. Let's say you've got 5 chips that are representing the odds that you're laying. You might put the 1 chip down and then take the remaining 4 chips and kind of put them off to the side. So they're tilted off the side.
So they're
offset.
Angled off that. They're offset
they're angled
base bet.
That's how the dealer can tell that those are your odds as opposed to your initial don't pass bet.
Right, and how the camera upstairs realizes that that's odds and not your original bet.
That's right. Now, bridging is where you put part of your odds right up flush against your don't pass bet. Use like the same number of chips as in your don't pass bet. And then you put the remainder of your odds halfway between your don't pass bet and the odds bet, kind of in the middle between the two, kind of like making a little tower.
Yeah, right.
So why would you do one as opposed to the other? Typically, you only bridge when your don't pass bet will pay the same amount of money as your odds bet. For example, you've got $5 on the don't pass, and the point is 6. And you decide you're going to lay $6 odds against the 6. You put $5 of those odds right up against your don't pass bet. And then you put that extra dollar on top between them. If 7 comes up, you'll get paid $5 for your don't pass bet and $5 for your odds bet, because the odds, laying odds against the 6 is 5 to 6. And then it's easy for the dealer to pay off because he just goes right up to your don't pass bet, boom, $5, and right up to your odds, boom, $5. They can just cut the chips right like that.
Right. We should probably describe what you mean by on top.
I mean literally on top.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. So the 2 bottom chips touch each other.
Yes.
And the other chip sets on top, half on one chip, half on another, almost making a pyramid.
Correct.
You like 2, 1, a pyramid. So
yes.
if you started with 8 chips, there'd be 8, 4, 2, 1.
Yes.
So you're making like a pyramid shape.
Yes. And
bridging is a weird term to me because it seems like it'd be pyramiding or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you're making a bridge between the 2 bets.
Yeah.
Now, if your odds will pay a different amount of money than your pass line bet, that's when you heal. And that's again, the more typical way that you'll see. Right. And you can always ask the dealer what you should do. How should I put my odds out like this.
No,
And
or they'll
you.
just do it for you. You
Yes.
can probably just throw it out there and they'll set it with the way they want to.
Yeah, and then after you've seen how they want you to do it, then you can continue to do that.
Right.
And then if you make a don't come bet and you want to lay odds against the number, then the dealer will take care of how he's going to arrange your odds because
he's already moved your initial bet up.
Yes.
And so you give him odds, whatever that amount is that you want, and he'll set it the way he wants.
Yes. So anybody who's coming out for VIMF, we do plan to attend this year. So if you want to see exactly what we're talking about, because I know it's a little hard to visualize when we're just talking about it, but we can show you exactly what we mean.
Yeah, and Mark does play the Don't every once in a while.
Every once in a while, yes.
Yeah,
and
things get going poorly, he's on the Don't.
I will do it sometimes, and I'll typically play full odds. I'll lay full odds. So,
and actually, for people who want to watch, that's a perfect time to watch because you'll see Mark play perfect craps on the Don't, and you'll see me rag on him the whole time.
yes.
So, it's good both ways for the viewer.
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
Except you. I mean, maybe you get some gratification.
I get some gratification about ragging on you about that. But there's one dealer out at Harrah's Rincon, and every time I actually do it for fun. I don't care that he's on the Don't.
Yes.
I mean, I don't go over there. I still play the pass line, but I don't care.
We're usually at separate tables. I usually won't bet the Don't if you're at the same table.
But there's one dealer out there, Lorenzo, and he just hates it when you go on the Don't.
He does.
I mean, he hates it.
He hates it.
He's a craps player.
Yes,
he goes
is.
to other casinos,
Yep.
and he's always on the pass line. And I often wonder, he'll rag on you because he knows you.
Yeah.
And he knows, you'll take it.
I'll tease him back
and you'll
about
tease
it.
him
Yeah,
right back.
like if I win. Yeah.
So, he knows he can do that with you, but I wonder what he thinks when other players do it. He's probably seething inside. Like, oh, get off my table.
I think it probably depends on how they act.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
sure. If they're tipping, he's probably okay.
I believe as a Don't player, you need to keep a real low profile and just not call attention to yourself.
Right.
So.
And you don't do that. You do that to the other players. You're not rude at the table, but with him,
I'll rib him a little bit. Yeah, if something happens on that. Okay, we got another email from Todd Goddess. Todd is the author of How a Math Nerd Plays Craps that you can get for free on our website. Just go to the left-hand side of the page, click on How a Math Nerd Plays Craps. He had a non-gambling related question.
Can we take those?
Oh, that's a good question. I probably should. I should have edited this before we go. Really? He asks, for your opening music, which one of you would most likely play the guitar part and who would most likely play the drums? What do you think?
Well, I think we're in agreement on this. I definitely would be playing the drums.
Okay.
For two reasons. Number one, I have no musical talent at all.
Okay.
So I could just bang a drum, right? It wouldn't be in beat and, the rhythm would be completely off, but I could still bang it.
All right.
And the other reason is because I'm the one who would be banging a drum.
Okay. That I agree with that. I do think I have some musical talent. The problem is I have no rhythm.
Okay.
That is a problem when it comes to so-called musical talent. Yeah, but if I've recorded myself playing the piano and gone back and listened, it's like, oh my God, my rhythm. I need to have headphones on to keep me in rhythm. It's terrible. So I guess that's the answer. All right, let's go on to our voicemail hotline. Don't forget, call our hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
And maybe we'll play your clip on the show. First, let's hear from Carter.
Hey there, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Carter from Portland calling in again. I just wanted to say I loved your guys' 100th episode. I thought the intro was hilarious. Part about Dr. Mike being a professional craps player is hilarious. I just wanted to call and give you guys a quick little trip report and share my experience. I went to I don't know if it's new, a place I haven't been in southern Washington, about 90 miles north of Portland, called Lucky Eagle Casino off I-5. And yesterday was Sunday. I didn't have anything to do with my girlfriend. We drove up there. We thought we'd check it out. We went there, and it seemed like it'd been newly renovated and stuff. Kind of had a cool look to it. Kind of like a mini Vegas-type casino. Much smaller, obviously. We finally got up to the craps tables, and they had it kind of set up I'd never seen before. First, they had the longest craps tables, the biggest craps table I think I'd ever seen. I mean, these things were really aircraft carriers. They were 16-footers maybe, I don't know. Bigger than the ones that I normally play on at the local casino here in Oregon or any that I've seen in Vegas. I didn't necessarily like. I mean, it sure seemed like you had to Hail Mary pass them all the way to dice just to get them to the other end of the table. But that wasn't such a big deal. But what really bothered me was their dealer crew only had 2 dealers and no stick man. And they were having one of the 2 dealers also be the stick man. And there was just no stick man standing on the opposite side of the table, working the stick and working all the prop bets. And they just had the 2 dealers doing everything, and they were passing off the stick. They would pass the stick to the opposite side of the table that the shooter was on. And one of the 2 dealers would be responsible for all their placed bets and bets in front of them and being the stick man. And then they were just kind of sharing the responsibility for all the prop bets. And it just seemed really stupid. Like, I was not happy about it. The game was slower, of course. Obviously, it went slower because there wasn't someone whose particular job it was to keep track of all the prop bets. They had like a pit boss or table boss sitting there, but he wasn't doing the prop bets. He wasn't working the stick. It was one of the most kind of half-assed setups I'd ever seen. I was thinking about it. I go, well, are they just wanting to save money on one dealer, you know? It seemed like it would have been better to only have half the table going and one dealer and one stick man instead of a whole table with 2 dealers and no stick man. Because the game was slow. They weren't, you know, there was a lot of confusion with the prop bets. Of course, the person on the other side of the table would have the stick to pass the dice to the shooter on the other side of the table. And of course, he couldn't get anywhere near them because the tables were so long and they were on the other side. So they'd have to like just push the dice and jut them over to you, and they'd go all over the place. And sometimes you'd have to reach way in for them, or they'd go all over to someone else, and you have to reach in front of somebody to grab them. And it was just kind of unprofessional. And I don't think I'd ever seen that before. And anywhere in Vegas or any place I've been, I hadn't seen that setup before. And I was just wondering maybe if you guys had seen it before, what you think about it. I wasn't a big fan of it. It just seems, I don't know why the casino would do that. Maybe they think they're saving money, but now, to me, I'm like, their craps game sucks. It's not as good as somewhere else, so I'm not going to go back there to play. And I had a question. I thought maybe I'd ask you guys, what was some of the crazier, or stupider, or nonsensical things you've ever seen the dealers be doing, or the kind of setup, or in kind of crazy games you've played in? Just thought I'd ask and share with you guys. Thanks again. Have a great day.
I've never seen just 2 dealers, as he describes, at a craps table at a casino. Have you?
Maybe at the Golden Gate once.
Once. However, when Mike and I used to deal for a casino party company, that was standard. When we would deal craps, there would just be 2 of us there, and we would, again, yes, each take turns being the stick. If we would be the stick, right, if the shooter was on the opposite side,
now,
right.
Those were much smaller tables.
Much smaller tables,
When he initially started saying this, I'm thinking, these tables are huge.
Yeah.
How do they do that? Because you can't reach them. You'd have to just slide them, and you might slide them a 7, right?
Yeah,
or
right.
You know, which is kind of taboo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that doesn't sound like a good setup. Now, I'm wondering, he was there just this once, right?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if this was like an instance where like somebody didn't make it, they were short-staffed.
Right, that's
and this
possible.
isn't their normal policy. But if it is their normal procedure, that's weird.
Yeah, it is. Now, when you and I were doing the parties, we were typically never dealing to people who knew the game. We were explaining it to them.
Right.
So rarely did we have a lot of prop bets to worry about.
Right.
But yeah, if there are only 2 dealers, I mean, it is so nice to have that stick there to
it'd
just be in charge of the props.
And on a big table, it'd be hard to place prop bets if you're, without a stick man.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, usually if even the dealers throw the bets into the stick.
Right.
Because
it's hard to reach.
It's hard to reach every single bet.
All the way over there if the prop bet that you're betting, like a 12, is on the opposite side of where you are.
Yes. As far as crazy setups or dealers, I can't think of any specific examples of like a crazy
we
setup.
played in the little boat thing where there's one dealer who handles the stick.
Yes, right.
But that's such a small little thing.
Yeah, and people have seen that, right? It can only handle like 5 or 6 players. Right. You've got a funny story about one of the dealers out at Harrah's, though, right?
We've got funny things that happened with dealers that are funny. One, I always parlay my hardway bets.
Yes.
So if I have a $5 hard 4 and it hits, I parlay it to $40, hoping to hit it again for the $280 payout.
Yes.
So
and if it loses, it comes up easy. Go ahead.
It comes up easy. I usually have a bet on 4 anyway, which I win, and I take some of that money and I place it back for 40 again. I don't go back to 5.
Okay, so once the hard way is pressed, you keep it up at the same amount until a 7 comes up.
Right, because I've usually won money. I make sure I have it placed.
Or bought. Yes. Mm-hmm,
so I win some money. So I had rolled a hard 4, or a hard 4 had come up. and I had parlayed it to $40. And one of the dealers out at Harrah's Rincon is named Dawn. And I got to preface this by saying, number one, at this time, when this happened, she was on the graveyard shift.
Okay,
so it was late at night.
Okay.
It was late at night. We were all pretty tired, but she shouldn't be. She just came to work, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So anyway, the couple of rolls later, 4 comes up easy.
Yes. So your hard 4 loses.
So my hard 4 loses, and I typically like to play next to the stick because I make so many bets that I like to be right there to hand it to him. I don't have to throw it too far.
Yeah.
So she was on the stick, and I sat down $40 in front of her.
So again, if you don't have a $40 chip, it's a quarter.
It's a quarter
and
chip
3 nickels.
and 3 nickels,
Yeah.
which I recommend. I always try and do that if I have the money in front of me.
Sure, so they don't have to make change.
So they don't have to make change. It keeps the game going.
Right.
Plus, they use my chips to place the bet, and it really does make a difference in a
definitely.
game time-wise.
So
right?
you've handed her a green and 3 red chips.
I handed her a green and 3 reds. I say hard 4 returning. So all she has to do is pick that up, put it back on the hard 4, right? She looks at the bet. She reaches over. She takes 1 red chip off my $40, puts it on the hard 4, and turns to the dealer and says, 35 change to Mike. It was so
Why
funny.
in the world, if you wanted a $5 bet, would you throw in $40
and ask
a
for
$25
change?
chip and 3 $5 chips so that you could get $35 change?
I'll have a $5 hard 4 back, and can I get 35 change in white?
Well, now that might have made sense. Maybe, if you wanted to color up, that would make sense. Oh, that was so funny.
It was so funny because
so
just looking at her, and then I'm like, can I get a $40? Anyway, we teased Dawn about that constantly.
Yeah.
She teased Dawn about that constantly. And every once in a while, some other dealer will look at me, how much you want, how much change do you want back?
Okay, let's move on to a call from David.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is David from Fort Worth, Texas. I just recently found your show about 3 weeks ago, and I've been listening to a lot of older shows. I believe I'm on episode 37. I'm just now calling in. You've answered quite a few questions on the past few episodes, but I'm going to be going to Vegas here June 20th for the whole week. I'm a chip collector, and we have a convention out there at South Point every year. It'll be coming up June 23rd to the 25th. I had a few questions for you guys. One, if craps in California went to traditional dice instead of the cards, would your Vegas trips be lowered or come to an end, since it'd be right down the road from where y'all live? And I now have a bucket list, and number 1 on my bucket list would be play craps with you guys. You guys sound like a lot of fun, and I'm hoping I can one day catch y'all in Vegas when I am out there with you guys. And second, on one episode y'all talked about craps layout, and I believe Dr. Mike said he had one and some guy had sold them to him for $20. I recently bought a layout from Texas Station on an eBay auction, and it was fairly cheap for a 12-foot layout, and it actually has the fire bed on it. So I built a small practice table, and of course I'm teaching my 13-year-old how to play craps. And
Nice.
I don't know what the wife
excellent.
thinks about that, but we have a lot of fun. And anyways, I was hoping to call back between the week of June 20th through 24th and give you a report on all the new craps, things I've learned from you guys. Hopefully it goes well. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, that craps layout you have, that's actually a full table.
That's a full table.
Right? Our friend Paul was just at some auction.
Right.
And they were auctioning off this table. It was like a casino party table. It wasn't a real casino craps table. But they were auctioning it off for $20, or that was the bid. And Paul called you and said, "Hey, should I get this for you?"
Yeah, I said, yes, buy that right away. It was $20.
Yeah, that's great. It breaks down, and you just have it in your garage right now.
Right,
Yeah, we got to have another party at your house.
One of these days, I got to get rid of it. It does take up a little bit of room.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true.
And we have a big garage, but
Yeah.
You know what's, he's talking about this going to South Point. That's a good place to play craps too.
Is it? I've never played
think.
craps there.
Yeah,
Have you?
Yeah, I did. I think with my brother once.
I know they have good video poker, but I've never stepped in the place, so I don't know.
Yeah, we were there with my brother for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was pretty nice. I mean,
Yeah, as a locals casino goes, I think it's pretty
as
popular.
a local casinos, it was nice.
Yeah. Well, okay, so David's question, if we got dice in California for real, would our Vegas trips be less frequent? The answer is no, because our Vegas trips are less frequent than they used to be for two huge reasons. Number one, we both got married.
Right.
Number two, there's some kind of craps close to us now.
Right.
We really don't mind the cards. We don't bitch about the cards. I mean, yes,
funny.
we prefer dice, but we really don't even think about it anymore.
Just last night, we were playing poker, and one of the guys said that he loves craps, but would never play in California because he can't deal with the cards.
And I understand people thinking that way.
Yeah.
It's just not the way we think.
But it's funny because I think if he actually did it, and did it more than once, more than like a half hour, if he went a couple of weeks in a row, he'd be fine with it.
I think so too. Plus, he's a don't player. So if he's worried that something's going on, well, just bet the don't.
Right. Yeah, that'd be the place to play, right?
So, no, if we got real dice out here, we only go to Vegas like twice a year now.
Well, the
maybe
reason
three
we
times.
wouldn't change, we'd still go 2 or 3 times a year, is because it's a getaway too.
Exactly.
Because, this for us, when we go on Friday nights, it's 4 or 5 hours. And then, usually I know I'm this way, and I guarantee Mark is too. During the week, we're thinking, how much longer till Friday?
Yeah, we're looking forward to going.
We're looking forward to going.
But still, it's only 4 or 5 hours.
But it's 4 or 5 hours. We go to Vegas, it's the weekend, and it's more of a get out of town kind of thing.
Yes, because we would never spend an entire weekend at one of the local casinos here.
No. Because we can go home and sleep in our own bed and see our families and everything.
Yep.
It's kind of like people who golf. They'll go somewhere on a golfing trip, and they'll do what they could do at home. It's just that it's an excursion. It's a trip, right?
It's a getaway.
It's a getaway, right?
All right, one more call from August.
Hey, you can bet on that. This is August from Bath. I love your guys' show. I emailed and said I'd give you guys a little chirp report about Seneca Casinos, so here it is. All right, Seneca Casinos out in New York. So they've got 3, Buffalo Creek, Niagara, and Allegheny. The closest one to me is Allegheny, so I go there most often. They only have 2 craps tables, but one of them is almost always $5. They've got 5 times odds, which is good. And then the bad, let's see, they do double on 2 and 12 on the field, the buy and lay Vegas up front on the 4 and 10. They don't allow put bets. They do have downtown odds on the prop bets, which I guess is good, but you can find that pretty much anywhere except the Strip. I find it funny that they come drinks here, but at the bar, you can pretty much get whatever you want when I'm playing 50-cent video poker, but when I'm at a $10 craps table, they charge me $4.50 for a shock top.
Isn't that strange?
It doesn't make sense at all.
It should be the opposite, don't you think?
Exactly, right.
When you're, I've never heard of that. It usually is the opposite.
Right, you have so much wagered on the craps table, and typically you're not just standing there doing nothing.
Yes.
Right? Where at a bar, you could be hitting that button once every 5 minutes, right?
Right.
Because typically there's a game on, you're watching a game,
Yes.
you're talking to your buddy next to you, you're trying to catch the eye of the girl across the
Yes.
other side of the bar. You're doing everything but gambling.
Well, that's why all the casinos in Vegas are trying to quantify how much you're playing on the machines. That's how they're deciding how they give you the drinks.
Right.
Table games now, they still come by and, hey, what can I get you?
Well, they know you're playing. You wouldn't be sitting there if you weren't, right?
That is odd.
You got to be careful about where you sit at video poker because I've seen as low as 6-5 jacks or better and as good as 8-5 double-double. So that's always a little tricky. They also have dollar blackjack there, and they do have the rule that if you're playing $5 or less, you have to pay a 25-cent ante, which, you might as well not play. But what you can do is just play for $6. So it's still a very low limit table, and they won't charge you the ante. And then the other thing was their comp system. I usually get pretty good room offers there, but the point system I think is pretty whack. We always talk about the mystery of playing table games and, the tier and comp points you actually get. So they actually tell you what it is. I don't know how accurate, they rate you at, but for 4 hours of play at $25, they give you 9 points. So if I'm playing craps at a $25 level for 4 hours, supposedly I only get 9 points, which is 2 shock tops or like a Caesar salad or something. And that just doesn't seem right to me. And to get into their chairman's club, which is their top tier, they have 3 tiers in the select club, is 800 points. So, and it turns over every 6 months, not per year. So you have to play almost 400 hours every 6 months at a $25 level to get their chairman's club. And, that just seems like a lot to me. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Did pretty well there last time. Played some Mississippi stud and actually hit 4 aces, which was pretty awesome. So won $4,000 on that. Went over the craps table and I jokingly, said to the pit boss, $500 on the hard 8, but, he didn't book it. And the very next roll was a hard 8 and the guy proceeded to roll 3 more before he 7'd out. So it would have been just insane, but I didn't book it. So that's on me. Let's see, Niagara, they've got 5 craps tables there. Always a $10 table, at least one. But they seem to jump around from 15 and everything. And, when they go up to the next value, they don't grandfather anyone in. So you just have to leave basically, or, be willing to play higher. Buffalo Creek, I've only been to a couple of times. That's the one actually in Buffalo. Since there's no hotel, there's no drinks there while you're playing. And I just didn't find it was a great atmosphere, so I'm not really interested in going there. But anyway, I just thought I'd let you guys know what the scoop is out here. And I know you're looking for an excuse to maybe play in Canada or the East Coast, so I would recommend going to Niagara Falls with your family. It's kind of something for everybody there. And then hit up Seneca, Niagara, and give me a call, and I'll come out and meet you guys. And then there's also 2 casinos across on the Canadian side, the Falls View and the Casino Niagara. So you can get a feel of what it's like to play in Canada. All right. Anyway, hope to come to BIMP this year. And, love your guys' show. Bye.
Good. Thanks, August. That's the first report we've had for the Seneca casinos up there.
Yeah,
so it's good to hear about
actually
those.
hearing him talk about it, I wouldn't mind going.
Oh, I know. We need to get up
Niagara
to those
Falls,
places.
I've never been there. I've always wanted to go. My brother's been there several times, says it's great.
Yeah.
And we could go to Canada, too.
Yeah.
Walk across,
maybe
right?
when we're retired. You'll get up there earlier than I. You're going to get up there earlier than I will.
Look, you tell your wife you want to renew your vows. You want to do it on one of those boats.
Yeah,
in Niagara
keep your voice
Falls.
down so that she doesn't hear this.
And I'll tell my wife the same.
Okay.
We'll just plan it on the same
right.
weekend.
Okay.
Then we're there.
Yeah.
And once we're there, we got to play craps. So.
Well,
What are the coincidences?
That's right. Oh, I didn't know they had a casino up here. It sounds like, at least as far as the Allegheny goes, that the casino just prefers slot players to table game players. Yeah. That's what it sounds like, right?
Most casinos, right?
I guess so, but this seems pretty extreme. Not just the drinks, but then what you get as far as points and everything.
The amount of points you need to get the highest level seemed really high.
It seems like a lot of play.
Boy,
Gosh.
that's a lot of play. Yeah, and every 6 months.
Right, every 6 months,
in a year I might buy into that a little bit, but every 6 months?
Yeah.
Boy, it must be hard to get. You have to be a pretty good player to get into that high level.
Yeah, I guess so.
It looks
a
like
good player meaning a big loser.
Right, meaning a big loser.
Yeah.
I meant big player like spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's a casino where they prefer slots with a high house edge. Mm-hmm. And they don't want you to get too high a level because they don't want to give you way too much.
Okay.
So sounds like they're making good money.
Also, I thought it was strange. So you got to pay an ante for blackjack up to $5. It seems like it would be less than $5. So if you were betting $4 or less, you'd pay the ante. But then when you get to the $5 mark, that's when you don't pay the ante. Instead, it's when you bet $6 or more, that's when you don't have to pay the ante. I guess it's more money in their pocket, but it seems like a strange cutoff.
It seems like a strange cutoff. $6.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to bet $6 so I don't have to pay an ante.
That's right.
Yeah, $5 would make a lot more sense. Unless they have $6 chips.
I doubt
Maybe
that,
they have I need a $40
August,
chip.
let us know. Yeah, let us know if they have $6 chips. August actually sent a follow-up email. He says that None of the Seneca casinos have any side bets on their craps tables, like fire bet, sharpshooter bet, small, tall, none of that stuff. And then he says, Allegheny's poker room is not in the casino. It's about a mile away in a separate building. Strange? I think so. In my opinion, at each location, the dealers are friendly enough without being too talkative. I'm concentrating on the game I'm playing, so I appreciate this. Not really there to make friends, although occasionally I strike up a conversation if the game is moving slow. The rooms are very nice, and I was recently comped a suite if anyone is interested in a virtual tour of one. The shower was comically large, must be at least 40 square feet, and the room also had a jacuzzi.
We have a 3-6 poker game starting in our poker room. If you leave now, the game starts in 45 minutes.
Yay. All right. Well, again, thanks for that report, August.
A mile away.
I know.
Do they have a shuttle?
They must.
Start walking now, please. We're trying to get this game going. I like that they had a comically large shower. Yes. I love that, actually.
Oh, comically large showers are the best.
Oh, they're the
Absolutely
best.
the best.
Seriously, I love a big shower.
Sure. Who doesn't?
And I don't do anything in there other than take a shower.
Oh.
Let me straighten that.
Oh, okay.
Let's clarify that right now.
Okay.
But I just love the space.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can just spread your arms out. You don't hit a wall.
We have a big shower in our house, and we used to have a small shower in our master bedroom, and we got it remodeled, and we got a huge shower. I mean, my whole family could shower in there together if we wanted.
Right, sir?
We don't, but we could if we wanted.
Okay.
And I like it. It's just so nice.
Yeah.
You don't feel cramped.
Yeah.
Every place should have comically large big showers.
I agree.
With big soap. Maybe just a big old,
It's like
a big old thing of soap.
like a big giant thing, like a big brick of soap.
I mean, so much that your kid can't actually hold
Yeah,
it
it's
to
cumbersome.
use it.
It's
cumbersome.
actually not practical. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, we want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, Amy, she headed out for a Memorial Day trip, said she was going to go shoot craps with the in-laws, so hope you had good luck there, Amy. Also, thank you to Guillermo. He says, thanks for the podcast. Glad you made it to 100. Keep it going. Hope to play with you soon. And finally, from Todd Goddess, author of How a Math Nerd Plays Craps, he said, this worked for our April Vegas trip, so just in case there really is a thing as karma, hoping for a profitable June trip. Keep up the great show. Thanks for the PayPal donation, Todd.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people do say stuff like, we hope to meet you someday or get to Vegas. And I know not everyone can come at Vimp or any of the other times we're there. But you know what? San Diego's a great place.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know, seriously, I mean, if you want a vacation, and we don't have to sell San Diego because
No, I mean, San Diego's got a reputation as a
everyone in this
vacation place.
country
Sure.
knows. Come to San Diego, stay a week downtown, whatever, vacation, do everything. Just meet us at Friday night at Harrah's.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
And, you know, contact us ahead of time. If we're not going to be there Friday, we'll be there Saturday, but we'll be there one of those nights.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, that's the best place to meet us, wouldn't you say?
Well, I mean, yeah,
it's more fun in Vegas.
I mean, I think it's actually easier for people to meet us in Vegas because they're going to be there for different reasons. If they're coming for Vimp and we happen to be there during Vimp,
or they're going to make a Vegas trip this year, you might as well make it when everyone's there.
Yeah, so
see a lot of people. But San Diego's a great place to visit.
Yeah, it is.
And, you know, you can catch a Padre game.
Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program to search through all the raw American TV data. Just go to our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com, and click on the link at the top that says TV listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS, or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. We tweet when we're heading to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review on us. Supposedly, when you do, it helps us get new listeners. Okay, Mike?
Boy, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, you should have saved the whole San Diego thing for the end here.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, put it at the end.
I'll try. That might be a tough one, the way we kind of bantered about that.
Well,
anything else?
Well, I was going to say, you know, getting back to the Padres, and I don't know why I bring this up, but you and I both suffered through. They had a 10-2 lead in the 6th inning.
10-2 lead.
And lost. And lost.
Biggest blown lead in franchise history. And they were playing the Mariners. It was the Mariners' biggest comeback in their franchise history.
Yeah. So the Padres go back to 1969 in San Diego. They've never lost an 8-run lead that late in a game.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Why do we suffer through this?
It's just, I actually wrote to somebody and said, it's almost like we're wearing it like a badge at this point, but we're not enjoying it. It's not like we take great pleasure in
and
seeing
I would
them lose.
love 1 year, just 1 year of my life before it's over. And, I'm getting old. There's not that much
Very
time
old.
left. I would love to go to Vegas at the beginning of a season and legitimately place a bet on the Padres to win, the pennant or the World Series or something, and really think that this can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done it, but I've never thought it could happen.
I hate to say it, but that was last year. You could have said that last year before the season started, right? That's what everybody was saying, right? We spent all this money to get all these great players.
This could be our
That's
year.
what everybody was thinking, and it just didn't happen.
Well, I'm never convinced.
Yeah.
I'm a pessimist when it comes to them.
Yeah.
Now, here's what we should do. All right?
Yeah.
We should all get together, all of our poker buddies at Tuesday Night Poker. We should talk amongst ourselves what we think the over-under for wins for the Chargers is going to be this year.
Okay.
And we should somehow get to Vegas before the season starts and each put in like $50, say, and make a bet on the over-under.
My concern is that I think the over-under is going to be pretty low to the point where it's like, as far as wins go, right?
You think it's going to be like 6 or 7?
I think it's going to be so low that
they only won
we
4
can't bet
games
the
last
under.
year.
Well, I know, but I'm thinking it's going to be so low this year, especially because you could say that they're like a lame duck team, right? Like they might be leaving.
They might be leaving.
I think.
I'll tell you what. If the over/under was 5 or 6, I wouldn't have a problem betting the over. I think they can win some games.
The over. Okay. All right. We'll discuss this offline.
Yeah, but I think that's the move. That's the tip of the week from Dr. Mike. Bet the over on the Chargers.
Doctor's orders. Thanks for listening.